So this here is almost your flat walk, just so you know. I know he's trail walking, but he is moving out a fair amount. He's got a bigger stride there and he's reaching out, but it's a nice clean 4-beat walk. You can see how it keeps making the V right here. So all that looks good. And then body position, you're carrying your stick well, your hands are good. All of that looks good, but I would say this is almost a flat walk there instead of like a slow trail walk. So here you're going to do your turn on the forehand. I would use less rein. Your backup was good, but when you go to turn, see how much you're pulling that rein, that his head is turned that far. You only want it turned slightly so you can see the corner of his eye, and that way he'll know what direction to go, and then it's all leg. So I would also lift your chin up so you're looking over his head, and then look to the right. I would have been looking over here. So that'll help you and help him so he knows what to do. And then I would have just held him, kept pushing with your leg, but I wouldn't have his head turned that far. You guys are better now. So I would just use your leg, and then if he's not responding, I would use your stick. And then once you're done with the turn, I would stop and get his head down. So you start getting in a real good habit of every time you put pressure on the reins that he brings that head down. So start adding that into all your movements. So you can, like if you're trying to keep your head down as you're turning him, you can kind of slide the bit and that will help. Otherwise you can turn a little bit, stop, get his head down, turn a little bit more, stop, get his head down, turn a little bit more, stop, get his head down. And then he'll start making the connection to keep it down through the whole turn. So again, this looks more like a flat walk. You just need like 1 mile per hour faster to get the flat walk, and it would be a really good flat walk with a relaxed frame, and all his legs are very independent. His headset, all that is good. Your body looks good. This turn was better, but you kind of walked and you might be rushing just because the camera's on. So I would walk and make sure that you have a clean stop so he's not dribbling or anything forward. Just take a little bit more time before you do it. Your rein is better in this direction, and I would just hold him more. So I would pull a little bit more on both reins because he is walking forward some. And then if he drifts, in other words, he's also drifting a little bit to the right, then push with your left leg a couple inches behind the girth, and then hold with your right leg right at the girth, and that'll help prevent him from drifting so much. So the turn was decent. He just moved his front end a little bit much. And when you go to your flat walk, I would take your time and go slower. I would walk off, go into your trail walk, because it looks like you tried to go right up into a flat walk, and then it makes them tense. So, after your turn, trail walk, like 1 circle around, then get your flat walk. But that's a little too fast right there. So stay just a little bit slower, because you'll see he starts swinging his legs together and he starts step pacing. So I would stay slower to start with, and then I would get more bend to the left because that'll help separate his legs. So that was all a little kind of step pacey there. This is pretty good right there for your flat walk. So his legs are independent. He's no longer step pacing, but he's more relaxed. And I wouldn't let him look around at all. There, he picked up speed and he got a little step pacey again. So if you're asking him for more speed, then keep a little bit more bend and the head lower as you do it so he doesn't go up into that step pace. Doing the turn again, your backup was good, but here again to the right, you have his head turned just a little bit too much. So I'd use your leg and your stick and just take more preparation time. There's no rush. Like your stick was in your left hand, have it in your right hand if you're turning to the right. So that way you can tap behind your leg if he's not going. If you're going to the left, then put that stick in your left hand before you start your turn on the forward. Now he might have gotten a little distracted, and when you took off, he got fast here and he got step pacey. So I would have stopped him, backed him up. If he wasn't paying attention, I might have backed up 10 steps, then walked off slowly, got him to bend, and then started to slowly speed up. But if we let him step pace again, he doesn't know that it's not what we want. So we want to try and be a little bit more clear with him. Just try to work to have his head even lower. Because again, when he adds speed, he's shortening his step and then he's step pacing. So try to get his head down further will probably make it easier for you. And then just make sure you're keeping a little bit more inside bend. That's Otis sneezing. This is a good flat walk. You're doing a good job here. But again, before you go faster, I would like his head lower, just so if he does tense up, hopefully he'd stay out of the step pace more. This is your turn. And the only thing I don't like is you turned and then you went right up towards the saddle gate.
I'm going to do a running walk.
Well, or you said running walk, sorry. So you went, he's too tense there, so his head's up too high, which shortens his stride, and his back is inverted. So even though it might feel like his nose is down, this is too tense. So we want it lower like you had at the trail walk and at the flat walk. So he immediately bunches himself up and then starts going more towards your step pace there, okay? So we want to get those legs farther separated, so as he's going, if it's a running walk, he should have head shake, and then we should see more of a V with his legs. But instead, these legs are kind of moving together. They're kind of moving parallel together. So head's too high, he's too tense. So more bend, head lower. And again, if they have poles at that arena, then I would throw some poles out there. So when he's doing this stuff, you can go over the poles. And then when he's doing it right, you can stop and reward him. So that's a step pace there. There you got his head down. That was much better, but that's not a running walk. Your running walk is only a little faster than your flat walk, so this is a saddle gait. So it was much better with his head down. Remember, you got to release forward and down. There you're going back towards a flat walk, so your running walk is just a little faster than that. But there he started step pacing again. So not a running walk, that's a step pace. You just said it. You said, I feel like this is a little bit of a running walk and a little bit of a step pace. That's more. That's more your running walk, but he keeps going out of it. So try to keep his head lower, his body more relaxed. And when they do a running walk, there's more of a sweeping motion. It's not so up and down with the legs. So he mostly was going towards a step pace most of the time. So you need more bend, more relaxation, lower headset. Try to keep the top of his head kind of down here. And then just half halt and bend them. But again, you can use the poles, but he is step pacing. He's still step pacing. You might think it's a running walk because he has a little head shake, but it's not enough for a running walk. Step pacing again. And then the hardest part is he's doing it and he doesn't know it's wrong because you're kind of just letting him go. So we just have to do some different maneuvers to try to help him not to step pace. And then when he does step pace, to stop, back up. Or if you don't want to back up because of his stifles, then you could take him in a small circle, because the circle and the bend and then getting his head down could also get him out of it. But it's got to be every time you feel that little soft bounce in the saddle. See that little soft bounce? You either got to stop and back up or take him in a circle.
I'm going to say good boy.
Yeah.
Stop.
But you're close, it's just not there yet. So I would slow down, get that running walk better. Go this direction, you start off, it's nice and relaxed. I'd like his head a little bit lower. You go for a flat walk, but then you immediately speed up, which you're doing too fast. He needs more warm-up time to get back in the groove. And then he starts step pacing again a little bit there. And it's hard because he's smooth, but you'll see you're getting that little bounce. So your flat walk is the same as your running walk. The running walk's just faster, but it should feel the same. So when you go, I'm gonna go back a minute. When you go, your running walk's gonna feel and look just like this, except a tiny bit faster walk. So just 1 mile per hour, not a lot. But you go like 2 miles per hour, and then he goes into that step pace instead. Here you step pace. Then right here, see how his head gets lower? And you kind of did release some, and then all of a sudden, he got a saddle gait and a very nice one, okay? So don't forget, remember all that time we worked on giving and going forward and down to get him to relax? So you want to get him more towards a trot because he's too much towards a pace. So the rounder he is, but then relax through the neck area and back area, the better it is. And then you'll see he came back up there, shortened his stride, and goes back to step pacing. So you have to be, it's hard, you have to be aware of where his head is here. See, it's up towards your belly button. And then let me go back here. Okay, here he comes. So right there. So his head was up here before, okay? It was that much higher. So look where it is now. But you want to release forward and down so he doesn't get over tucked. But that's better with his neck, okay? So we're aiming more for that. So here it looks like he started to put his head down and lengthen his stride again, which was better. But then, sorry, your video is so long. So next time make it shorter because it's hard for me to go through it. When it's this long, you know, just put in the highlights. But I know in part of it, you went real fast and then he just started pacing. So we got to get him relaxed, bending. And again, for now, I would have poles when you're in that arena just to help you. This is, you know, you're not bouncing as much because he's slow, but it's still a step pace. So it's still the things I said before. His head's too high. So we got to bring it way down, get it more relaxation, and bring him a little bit more towards a trot to help that gait get better. That's a little bit better there. His head went down, but then he changed speed. And then you'll see that little bounce in the saddle there. So if you had a pole, he'd go right into that saddle gait. And then you could stop and reward him and do that a couple of times. And then he would probably hold it better. So that's better there. See, there's more leg separation between them. But then he was changing his speed and then he brought his head back up and got inverted again. Here, you get him in a better position, but he just starts speeding up. And as he gets faster, now the hard part is, even though his head's down, he, you know, it's semi-smooth, but he's getting a little strung out and then he couldn't hold it because it's past his speed. So then there he started really pacing. So I would stick with the slower speed, but try to get more relaxation, keep him bent, keep his head down, and then you use the poles. You don't have to put them all in a line. But again, see, you can see yourself bouncing there, and I'm sure you can feel it. So I would try to stay more consistent in the speed and just try to get the footfall more separated. Now he's back to step pacing again. And then you can see his head's back up towards your chest, and we want it down a fair amount. So now you're walking and he's much more relaxed. That's how we're trying to get him more in that gait with that head down and much more relaxed, like down there. So you sometimes have to exaggerate it in the beginning to get it, and then we can pick his head back up. But we can't for now because he keeps step pacing. So right here, you get his head down, he starts picking up speed, and then he goes into a trot. So right there, now it starts to get better when his head goes down somewhere. See, that's why it's hard, because the video's long. So when I freeze it, then I'm not freezing it in the right spot. Okay, so right there, he starts picking up speed. He starts getting into the groove, but I wouldn't let him pick up speed, okay? Okay, there you get his head down. So he really gets his legs separated, and right there, he was really good, okay? But then he fell into a trot. So the thing is, you want to get his head lower like it was, just not as low. And then you want to control the speed. Now, when they pace or step pace, I stop and pack them up because it's sometimes hard to get them out of it. Although you can try to bend them, over bend them, or do a shoulder in, okay? All those things can help get out of the step pace. When they trot like this, which is the opposite of the pace or step pace, it's actually a good thing if you can contain it, because it squares your horse up, so brings it more towards its gait instead of the step pace. So I wouldn't stop and back up. When he trots like that, I would have just brought his head up. And remember I sent that video on give your trotty horse a hug? I would have just pulled, raised his head up a little bit, and then released again, because you got it way high up, and then you stopped them, and then you started again. But you could have kept going, and it might have helped you a lot, okay? But now he's back to step pacing again. Okay, you'll see that little bounce in the saddle. So it's hard because fly's not that bouncy, so you really have to pay attention that if there's any movement in the saddle, you know he's step pacing. Get those poles out, bend him more, get his head down more, and don't let him just pick up speed. So here it starts getting better. You got his head down, you got the saddle gate, and you know what happens? You go right past it. And then you start pacing and step pacing again. So again, he doesn't know what you want. He's just trying and getting in the groove, but you have to not let him speed up. And that's how you're going to get that gait. But you do have to get that head set, okay? So I would have stopped, backed him up, and started again. Better again, but he went right past the speed. So you got to use that outer rein to back him off a little bit. And when he trots, just keep going, but raise his head up. And then once it smooths out, stop and rest him. I don't think he understands exactly what gait he's supposed to be doing with you. He started speeding up on you again. He got his head down. See, sorry, as I rewind it, it takes me too far away. See if it comes back.
See, his head's too far up, just in the shadow.
Yes, and you might have to take your stick, just so you know, and take your stick in your hand and put it on the top of his head so you see where it is. But it's up at your chest level here. So again, we want it down below there. But it takes time. You're doing fine. It's not horrible or anything. And there you bent him. You did the right thing, and you could have got it. But as you do that, you have to pull on your outer rein at the same time. So you block him from speeding up, and then you block him from drifting. So you want to bend that left elbow. It might help to do a live lesson since you're in an arena and there's probably internet. I think that would help more, okay? You'll have these tips, but then that might help more. So I would have slowed him down, half halted. It's hard because it's fun, you know? You're like, oh, they're going fast, and it's fun until they go into the pace or into the trot. But you're even going faster than Pivo's going. So there, you could have fallen right into the canter if you just tilted a little bit forward and started pumping if you want to get the canter. But you're getting behind the motion. So again, if you want to try to canter, lean, you know, either be straight up or tilt a little bit forward, and start pumping with the motion like he is cantering, and then he'll follow you and get into it, okay? He almost had it. And it's not any faster than you're going when he was doing that like flying pace. So don't be afraid of the canter. It's actually very smooth. He does it well, but you were kind of getting behind the motion. You're going faster. You know, and he gets his head down, it's pretty good, but you have to maintain the speed because that's why he goes out of it and he either goes into a flying pace, like you got an Icelandic there, or he falls into a trot, okay? So even though it's fun, I would work on getting that saddle gait with his head down at a slower speed, using the poles, getting relaxation, and it's gonna get much better quicker, okay? Overall, I think you did well. I think there's areas of improvement, which is normal, or otherwise you wouldn't be taking a lesson. But work on that head carriage, take more time to prep him. You know, so when you're gonna go for the flat walk, the running walk, or the saddle gait, go a couple of times around at that trail walk, then slowly speed up, get your flat walk. Do that a couple of times if you're gonna go on to the next speed, like your running walk. And then again, with the running walk, go only a little bit faster than that flat walk. It should feel exactly the same, just a faster walk. And then before you do that saddle gait, do a lot of running walk with his head down, then add in just a little bit more speed. You should have it, but keep his head down, keep him relaxed. If you bend him because he's getting step pace, you got to pull on that outside rein more. And then use poles. Poles are your friend. They're going to help him understand what to do. And the hard part, when it's fun, you want to keep going. But right now he is confused. He keeps changing all over the place. So as soon as it gets smooth, stop him, give him a little treat or a scratch or just a break, and then start again. And do that for a couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden he's very smart. So he'll probably figure it out. And then you'll have your saddle gait, but do it slower. Don't go fast in the arena at least, okay? And then just remember when you're releasing, forward and down, because we want that head and neck lower. We want it more level with your saddle. You're so close. You're going to get the canter. You're going to get your saddle gait. He has a running walk. You just have to go slower for the running walk, okay? But it's almost there. And if you send me any more videos, make them half the length that you made because it's way too long. And that's why it took me so long to do. All right, good job.